Let's get started with Houdini. You can download the Houdini software from the Side Effects website. And if you come over here, you can go into the Get tab and let's click on this download button and the link will open. So here we have these two installer. You can download the launcher. The launcher is a new recommended way of downloading the Houdini versions. That is a online installer. So basically you will be going to download a 67 megabyte of launcher, and when you install this launcher, there in here you can pick a Houdini version and you can download and install through the launcher. So the active internet connection is required for this launcher, or you can pick up a old installer, that is a what we call the offline installer. So basically you are going to download this 2.9 gigabyte Houdini software. You can download that and you can install this if you do not have internet connection. First, you do need to download this and then you can install this on any machine if you do not have active internet connection on that machine. And the Houdini Apprentice version is completely free. So after installing this, you do need to install the free Houdini Apprentice license. So for installing the Houdini Apprentice license, you do need the active internet connection for the license. Okay. So make sure to download and install the latest version of Houdini. I have already installed in my machine. So here I have opened up the Houdini. So that is the Houdini user interface looks like when you first open it up. Okay. So up here we have this basic menu, and onto the file menu we can create a new scene file, or we can open a scene file, and here we can save the current scene file, etc. And down here we have this shelf, and into the shelf we have all of these presets. And this shelf is also divided into two different shelves. So in here we have opened up the create tab where we have these basic primitive, box, sphere, and all of these basic primitives. Or we can come over here onto the modify, model, and we have all of these different presets. Okay. And in here we can create the light and camera. So the first option is the camera. We can create the point light. And we also have some collision. These are the dynamics for creating the static objects. So basically all of these are the presets. Okay. So first maybe let's create something in our viewport so that we have something to look for. So I'm going to pick up a box. So let's click on it, and here as you can see I have a interactive placer. So I can click anywhere in the viewport and to create the box. So I'm going to just click in here, and that will create a box geometry in my scene. Okay. And you can navigate in the scene around by pressing and holding the Alt key. Okay, I am currently pressing and holding the Alt key. Now I can use the left mouse button to rotate, and I can press and hold the middle mouse button to pan. And by pressing and holding the right mouse button, I can zoom in and out in my 3D viewport. Okay. And if you let go of the Alt key, that will switch you back to the currently active tool. So right now, and here we have the toolbar. Okay, so here we can see currently which tool is active. So right now the show handle, so that is the manipulator tool. Currently that tool is active. So which means by using this manipulator, I can move my box by using these handles, or I can use these radial handles to rotate my box. Okay. Or I can specifically pick the move tool. So if you come over here and click on this, and now here as you can see all of the handles are gone. So now I'm only able to just move. So here as you can see by using these three handles. And same way if you want to rotate and write down the move tool, we have the rotate tool. If you click on it, now we have these handles. So now I can use these handles to rotate my box in the scene. And down here we have the scale tool. Let's click on it, and we can use these handles to scale down our 3D object. Okay, and down here we have the view tool. So the short key of that is the escape key. So you can click on this camera view tool, and now we are in the view tool here, as you can see. And now I do not need to press and hold the Alt key, because right now my currently active tool is the view tool. So which means I can only just press and hold the left mouse button to rotate, and by middle mouse button to move, and all of these shortcut keys, the mouse keys, I can navigate in my scene around. And if you have the active tool, let's say I'm going to activate my move tool. Okay, let's say I'm going to adjust the position of the box, and now if I want to navigate in the scene around, I can press and hold the Alt key, and that will switch me to the view tool as long as I am holding the Alt key. Okay, and if you let go of the Alt key, that will switch you back to the currently active tool, which was the move tool. Okay, so now let me activate my view tool, and in here, if you want to switch between different views, the quad views, you can press the P key on your keyboard. Okay, by pressing the P key, I can activate my quad view, and here as you can see, we have the perspective view, and that is my top view, and that is my front and right view. And I can move around with these different views by using the same shortcut keys, the middle mouse button to pan and right mouse button to zoom in and out. Okay, and in here I can rotate, because that is the perspective. I can rotate, but in these views I cannot, because these are the top and bottom views, so only I can pan and zoom in and out. And if you want to maximize certain view, let's say if I want to maximize this front view, just hover over to that view and press the P key on your keyboard, and that will maximize the currently hovered over viewport. Okay, press the P key to activate the quad view again, and hover over to the perspective view and press the P key to maximize that view. And you can also activate your this quad view if you come over here where it says perspective. Let's click on it, and in here we have this option set view. I can go through all of these views. For example, if I want to go to the front viewport, I can just click on it, and that will switch me to the front view. I can click on this again, and let's go into the set view, and I can activate my UV viewport. Let's click on it, and that is my UV viewport. And the shortcut keys are numpad 1, 2, 3. So if I press the numpad 1, that is my perspective view, and the numpad 2, 3, and 4, and the 5 is the UV viewport. Okay, let's press 1 key to activate our perspective view. And if you come over here onto these panes, you can make these panes bigger or smaller. Okay, I can make my viewport bigger, and in here we have this parameter window that is called the parameter window, where we have the parameter for the currently active object. So in here I can adjust the translation. I can adjust the translation by typing the numbers, that is the X, Y, and Z respectively. You can type the values in here. Let's select this X value and let's type 1 and press enter. Okay, and now I have moved my box 1 unit in X. Or I can, if you hover over to the parameter that you want to adjust, you can press and hold the middle mouse button, and that way you can enable this incremental window. And in here I can select the increment. Let's say if I want to add or subtract the 0.1 increment, just hover over to the increment and move your mouse left and right to add or subtract the increment. Okay, that is a very cool way of adjusting the parameters. I can hover over to the rotate. Let's hover over to the rotate X, press and hold the middle mouse button, and then this time I'm going to select a figure increment. So let's hover over to that increment and move your mouse left and right. Okay, and that way you can very quickly adjust your parameters. And I can make these panes maximize bigger or smaller. For example, if I want to hide this pane, I can click on this up arrow button, and down here where we have this adjustment, here as you can see we have these two arrows. If you click on this up arrow button, and that will hide the pane, and if you want to bring this back, just come over here and click on this down arrow button again to bring up these parameters. So let me hide this parameter, because we can access this parameter by pressing the P key on our keyboard. So if I press the P key, and here as you can see that is my parameter window, I can make this parameter window bigger or smaller. And if I don't need the parameter window, I can press the P key to always hide my parameter window. And same way, we are not going to use the shelf. We are going to create everything on our own. So I'm going to hide the shelf. So let's click on this up arrow button. If you come over here as you can see, let's click on it. That will effectively hide the shelf. And if you need the shelf, just click on this down arrow button. Okay, click on it, and that will enable our shelf. So I'm not going to use the shelf, so let's click on it, and that will hide the shelf for us. And down here we have the play bar. We can make this play bar minimized as well. Just click on this down arrow button, and that will hide the play bar. Okay, and if we need the play bar, just click on this up arrow, and that will bring up our play bar. Okay, for now I'm going to hide my play bar. And now let's save this user interface settings. Okay, because I like this minimal user interface. Okay, that is a much clean looking Houdini user interface. So let's save these configuration. So we can save this by coming over here where it says build. Let's click on it, and here as you can see we have quite a lot of these presets. So if I, let's say, click on this image option, and here as you can see my user interface has been completely changed. I can come over here and I can click this onto the animate, and here as you can see my user interface has been completely changed. And these settings are related if you are going to be animating. Okay, and the default one was the build. Let's click on it. Okay, so because we have changed the build, that is why it looks like this. If you want to restore this onto the original setting, this build one, just click on it, and let's click onto this one, this reset main menu top. We can click on this reload current. Okay, let's click on it, and that will reload this user interface to the default, to the saved one. Okay, so I'm going to change this to the way that I like. So first let's hide the shelf, and let's hide the parameter window, and let's also hide the play bar. Okay, and here as you can see my background has been changed to dark as well. And you can change your viewport background by, if you come over here and click on this I button, that will enable the display option. Okay, so these are the Houdini display options. To change this, let's come over here onto the background, and here we have the color scheme, and right now I'm using the dark gray. You can change this to light. The light is the default, and you can change this to dark or gray or dark gray. So maybe let's change this to dark gray. Okay, that I think that color scheme is good. Okay, so now let's come over here onto the build, And in here, let's say save current desktop as, because if you press on the save current, that will override the build one. So I don't want that. So I'm going to click on this save current desktop as, and that way we can rename and create a copy of this current user interface. So I'm going to rename this to my maybe underscore UI. Okay, and let's save this. And okay, so it's saying that your user interface has been saved. And now let's also make this user interface as our default. So to make this our new user interface default, let's come over here onto the edit tab and onto the preferences and onto the general user interface. And here we have the general user interface preferences, and onto the startup, right now it says build. Let's change this to our own that we have created, the my UI. Let's select this and hit accept. Okay, so now every time we run Houdini, that will be our default startup Houdini user interface. Okay,